goddamn, this shit is overheated. Too much swag and fire here, so today I'm about to teach you all how to get this kind of sound, so without further ado, let's do the shit. Just as always, we have regular ass double-tracked guitars here, 2 guitars, panned 100% left and 100% right, routed to guitar's bus, and that bus is routed to master bus. Both of them shits has exactly same processing model, so we'll go for only one of them. Using Reverb 4 for reamping with regular setup. First thing in chain is 808 pedal with no drive and maximum tone to get control on low end part of tone and make it more focused. $6505 amp with these settings. Just as always, I use tweaking option to achieve optimal results by playing with them tubes and other science shits, but this schematic shit is too big to review, so I'll just put this preset at the additional files. You can see that cab section is bypassed and you'll already know what it means. Keyfair impulse loader loaded with custom made HLB impulse. Check this shit. Just as always, you'll find this impulse at the additional files for this guide, so you can get the shit and do some shit using my shit. Right after I use multi-band exciter and tape mode. What's interesting about it is that we use every band but last one, because I don't want to boost that fizzy presence, so as a result we get more fat and all-round tone. Notice reduced output. I used to do this to avoid of clipping on NLS that we have next in chain. Mic mode with some drive to add some nice ass low end coloring to guitars. And last thing here is Pro L limiter, which I use to gain RMS of guitars and make total stereo of them more stable. Now both of them shits goes to guitar's bus. Check this out. So first thing here is simple EQ, which reduces two whistly zones around 3 kHz. our bass exciter to bring out that low end. Pay no attention to them clicks when I turn off the plugin. As you can see, we have 3 dB attenuation here, so when I turn the shit off, this bus hits NLS bus on master too much. Try to focus on low end part of Spectre and ignore them cracks. Pro C compressor in sidechain mode, driven by kick and snare. This shit helps to put guitars deeper in mix. But what's interesting about it is that we compress only mid part of stereo, and because of the fact that snare and kick live in that area, you can't really hear the difference, and that's why it sounds pretty transparent. And last thing in chain is additional EQ to cut some more of them rainy shits. Here you can see Synth to Reverb bus, which follow this automation and work only for this short zones as a creative effect or some shit. Damn, fuck man, this shit is too fire. All hail to Trillion, which we're using for bass sampling. Hardcore finger big pause on this name full range thick patch here. Internal processing is bypassed, because it can't handle with this amount of gent and swag, so amp section is bypassed too, and we only have this amount of DI signal. Now I want to split this bass to multiple channels for multi-layer reamping, which I usually do for bass. So I just turn off output of Trillion and send this signal to few different FX buses, which gonna be actual layers of our new fat ass bass. Now let's figure what these layers are. This 4 layers with this bass 1 layer bus is exact copy of processing model from Modern Bass Tone Guide number 2, so if you want to check it out, follow link in the description. That's how this layer sounds. The only thing that I changed is volume of amp on bass twang channel. This time shit is bit lower. And another thing is completely different EQ on this bus. Here we have boosted low end, dropped mids and pretty radical low pass filter to get rid of that edge. and second layer is complete copy of guitar processing model. That's how it sounds. The only thing that I added here is this EQ to bring up some of that low end, get rid of few zones of mid-range and also get rid of unwanted fizzy presence. Both layers routed to bass bus where they sum up in one massive tone and get some timbre correction. Let's check that shit. So first EQ here to get rid of boomy lows, mids, and also to bring up that growly 800 Hz zone. And another EQ to get rid of some of them 150 Hz to avoid of conflicts with low end part of kick drum, plus we get rid of them whistly shits on highs so bass sits well in mix with guitars. And after all the shit it goes straight to master bus. So what we have here is pretty damn complex drum kit with powerful kick and snare triggers that you all already know, additional trigger for snare just to make it tiny bit more acoustic, and superior drummer mostly for cymbals and room. As I said, these KD and SD models is almost exact copy of triggers which I reviewed in 2 short tutorials about 2 months ago, so just as with bass, I'll leave link to them guides in the description to save time of those who already know them. Let's check how they sounds. Pretty tight though. So speaking of changes, this EQ on KD bus now have boosted lows to add some of that low end punch to kick trigger. Sidechain sends to first layer of bass, guitars and synths, and also pretty big amount of reverb to put it deeper in mix. Speaking of SD trigger bus, last equalizer now have this low pass filter to get rid of clicky attacks so snare sounds smoother in mix. Sends to sidechain compressor of guitars and also pretty big amount of reverb, which is common thing for snare. Add SD trigger. As I said, this channel is small addition to main trigger to add some of that swish. So we use Steven Slate Drums 4 for this one, and what we have inside is simple Black Beauty 6.5 sample. Here's the settings of internal mixer. Speaking of processing chain, envelope shaper helps us to get rid of attack, so as a result we only have swish tail. EQ to get rid of mid-range rings and make it less noticeable in total mix. And we also have pretty much of reverb here. Speaking of superior, that's how it sounds by itself. Metal Foundry library here. I'm gonna click the shit out of this kit so you can check names of used samples in this window. We're gonna process it externally, so there's no any kind of inserts and shit. We also using multi-out mode, which means that every mic or group of mix goes to its own outputs outside of Superior. This 3KD mix goes to kick channel. 4 snare mix goes to snare channel. Booth overheads mix goes to overheads channel. And finally this 4 room channels goes to ambience channel. Just as always, I go nuts with setting up them bleed settings of each channel, but there's just too much of them shits to demonstrate, so you'll find this preset at the additional files. Speaking of routing outside of sampler, each of them superior channels go straight to master bus. So let's go for processing, starting from kick. You can hear that it's pretty quiet and processing doesn't make much sense in case of whole mix. That's because we use Superior's kick and snare to give tiny bit more depth to main triggers. Simple EQ here to get rid of unwanted boominess and get little bit more of that click. Snare. Same story here. Reducing boxy mids and adding presence. Overheads. The whole point of processing here is to get rid of all unwanted whistles and make our overheads transparent. You probably will be surprised by how dirty and whistly it sounds without any processing. So we start from EQ. Low cut filter to get rid of unwanted low end content. Couple drops on mids to get rid of them whistly shits. SSL to make overheads fuller and more stable in case of dynamics. T-Rax Prog EQ with 4 dB boost on 16 kHz for brilliance and swag. EQ to get rid of unwanted whistles on mids and highs. NLS for dope-ass console saturation. Ambience. First thing in chain is CLA 76 in all mode, which means that we get a lot of saturation. EQ to get rid of unwanted highs and mid-range resonances. SSL compressor with fast attack and long release to uncover all background information and make room channel more stable in case of dynamics. EQ to finalize cleaning work. Before we'll go for actual processing of synth track, let's check sampling project of it. As you can see here, we have combination of trillion and omnisphere, so let's start from trillion. What I used here is this sample pack of nice ass saw synthesizer. Pass through Valhalla Shimmer Reverb, it becomes big and deep and fucking awesome. Next thing is EQ to get rid of unstable lows and fizzy highs provided by saw waveform, which has too much harmonics. So now our shit sounds more all round and warm. Omnisphere channel. This channel based on this preset, and boys choir samples here is turned off, so we only have that low ass growly man singing here. Here's the rest of settings, even though it's all default. Speaking of inserts, complex EQ shape to focus low end body of voice and some clarity on high mids with low pass and high pass filter for focus. And now it goes through shimmer reverb with these settings. Now both channels sums in stereo out, and what we have here is multi-bin compressor, which works in RMS mode and helps us to get control on unstable dynamics. Pro L limiter at the end to avoid of random clipping. So after all that shit, I did mix down and imported this file to main mix project. First thing in chain is sidechain compressor. Because of the fact that in mix almost every guitar strum is supported by kick drum, we have ducking of synth when guitars plays some shit, and when they're not, synth channel becomes bit more louder. This way we get some kind of macro pumping without automations. Equalizer to get rid of ringy zone around 300 Hz. Multiband imager to rebuild stereo field of synth, and by doing that we integrate this synth inside of part of stereo field where guitars lives. Now pair of Valhalla Uber mod plugins based on factory presets. First one is 2-tap random chorus. And second one is my favorite warm and warby preset to get that awesome warm color, which reminds me sound of old VHS tape, whatever the shit is. And last EQ to get rid of that rainy frequency on high mids. Even though we have 2 shimmer reverbs inside of the shit, but I don't give an amp about this fact, so there is also send to reverb because I heard that you like reverb, so I put reverb on your double reverb shit, so there is shit ton of reverbs in my shit. Speaking of reverb bus, same story as always. That's how it sounds soloed. So we're using Valhalla Room with these settings. An EQ to cut off unwanted frequencies to make reverb transparent in case of entire mix. This reverb channel is also routed to master bus, and before we'll finally go for it, take a look on them levels and panning settings for the entire mix one more time. First thing I want to show is incoming sensitivity of master bus. I did this to have enough headroom on NLS bus and be sure that none of them peaks don't hit 0 decibels here, otherwise we could get a lot of clipping. So input of master bus lowered down to 10 decibels, but we'll compensate it after NLS bus. Let's check that shit. SSL compressor with about 2 decibels of reduction for tiny bit of gluing. Multiband emitter to enhance stereo of mix and make it wider. Multiband compressor focused mostly on unstable lows and outstanding mids helps us to pack everything together really tight, but at the same time attack is long enough to pass kick and snare transients. Isotope Ozone 5 EQ with matching option for slight timbre correction of mix. Just as always, you'll find this matching session at the additional files. And last thing is your regular ass limiter, which makes our mix loud and also control them peaks. So that's pretty much it. For those of you who want to get additional files pack, which includes Cubase template, pack of mix-ready impulses used in this guide, matching session for Isotope Ozone 5 equalizer, pack of Pro Q presets, pack of presets for Reverb 4, and Superior Drummer preset, you will find all of them shits in my private post on Patreon, which will be available after pledging $1. By doing this you will also get access for rest of my private content and help me keep doing what I do. Link is in the description. Hope you learned thing or two from this guide. See you next time.